I hear it all the time. Where would Chelsea be without Hazard last year? Well, I got a rebuttal. Where would Chelsea be without Marcus Alonso? Chelsea traveled down to Bournemouth and come away 2-2 draw. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour. Essien! Drogba! Lampard! That could be the championship!
Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P. And you don't know this is another Chelsea match review, but more specifically, a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance against Bournemouth. Before I get into all that, can you please do me a big favor? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tell 4 friends, hit that bell notification button to keep up with the latest and the newest. But before I go too far in this video, I definitely have to shout out the Chelsea women for their impressive win, their impressive display the last 2-3 years. But, you know, it culminating with the Conte Cup win against Arsenal on the weekend. And, you know, kudos to the squad. Emma doing a great job as a manager, and all the players just really showing what it means to be Chelsea, wearing that badge with some real pride and, you know, demonstrating some real execution. And, of course, winning big games.
But it's blue. London is blue.
Shout out to the women. Okay, so Chelsea traveled down to the Vitality Stadium to play Bournemouth and emerged with a 2-2 draw. Goal scorers Marcus Alonso, Jefferson Lerma made it 1-1. Then we had a goal from Josh King right before Marcus Alonso equalized it to make it 2-2. For this particular match review, of course, I'm going to be focusing on the tactics. I'm going to talk about Chelsea's back three. I'm going to talk about their play in the wide areas. And I'm also going to get into how ineffective they were in the 5-2-2-1, breaking down Bournemouth's press. But in the interest of social media, all the noise that I've been hearing from there the last little while, I'm going to break form and quickly touch on some of the slander that I've been seeing directed at Frank Lampard. I'd like to start by saying one thing. Frank is not in an unassailable position. There's definitely something to say about the quality of football that we're seeing week in, week out. I mean, it has been progressive at times, but also it has regressed, and we're conceding a lot of goals, and there's reason to criticize that particular aspect of our game. But truly, as supporters, we have to know where that criticism ends. I mean, I can't believe that I'm seeing online people are asking for Frank Lampard to be sacked. If he wasn't a Chelsea legend, he wouldn't even be in the job at this point. I mean, really? Get your heads checked, man. Are you serious? This is Frank Lampard. The reason why we even have standards at Chelsea is because of what he's done on the pitch for us. I mean, truly, outside the X's and O's, everything that Frank is about stands for Chelsea. He's the ethos of this club. He understands what it means to be Chelsea. And that's what you want in the managerial position first and foremost. Somebody that understands the club and understands the supporters and unifies all those components of a club. He's a smart guy. He understands what he's seeing. He knows what's going on the pitch. He knows what's going on in the terraces. He knows that he has to get better. But like, we have to give him the space and time to do that. Like, if we're not going to give Frank Lampard the time to do this, then who are we going to allot that time to? He is a legend of this football club. He is in part the reason why we have the mentality that we can't accept anything but wins. So while wins are important and entrenched in the culture of this club, understand one thing: Frank has without doubt bought himself time. And while he's not void of criticism, he doesn't absolve him of criticism, and you will hear me criticize aspects of the game against Bournemouth. What it will buy him is at least 2 to 3 years to figure this out, because what he means to this football club as a whole, the fact that he's unified the terraces, he's unified the supporters, he's unified the club, is bigger than, you know, the X's and O's at this point in time. Because what we need right now is a solidity, a guy that understands what it means to be Chelsea and entrench that into the squad. You know, we need that first. And then come the wins, and then come the X's and O's. But unfortunately, my show is about X's and O's and the philosophy of this club and what we're trying to do on the pitch to, you know, execute wins. And what I saw against Bournemouth left me something to be desired. I was very disappointed in the setup, first of all. This new shape, whether it be a 3-4-3 or a 5-2-2-1, however you want to look at it, it wasn't very effective dealing with Bournemouth's press, and we struggled at moments in the game, not obviously for the duration of the game, but in moments of the game where Bournemouth really looked in the ascendancy, we struggled to deal with it. Now, in order to play out from the back, in my opinion, you have to have guys in that back three, back five that are very comfortable on the ball, that are composed and make good decisions under duress. And for me right now, the only guy that is capable of playing that style of football, the composed, pick passes, real composure on the ball is Christensen. Throughout the match, I didn't see him really initiate the attacking moves. I felt like Caballero started it, passed it out to either one of Azpilicueta or our wingbacks, or Tomori, and we just never really utilized Christensen as the libero, the guy that's actually initiating, our play out from the back. Now, granted, some of that was down to how Bournemouth decided to press. They were marking out guys like Christensen, they were marking out Jorginho, and made it very difficult for the guys who we did actually pass it to, the Tomoris and Azpilicuetas, to, make quick decisions under duress. But what I would like to see Chelsea do, and I've been saying this for I don't know how long, I want to see them be more brave in possession. And yes, even if it means Caballero passes it out to Christensen and Christensen has to make a quick decision under pressure, I would rather him, because he's composed and whatnot, I'd rather him be in possession of the football than somebody like Tomori, Azpilicueta, and Alonso. I'd rather see somebody that is composed and is not panicked when he has the ball at his feet. That's why you have him in that role. You have him in that role because you trust him to make the right decisions even though he's pressed. Same thing with Jorginho. He did not have a great game yesterday, but that is why he's in the squad, to be the guy that can just calm things down, survey the pitch, see what's happening, and make right decisions quickly. Now, I know I've been saying this for quite some time now, that Chelsea need a real boss at center back, to somebody that really takes control of the game and organizes that back four, that back line, and plays with some real passion for the football. Having said that, I was in support of Tomori coming back into the side, mainly because I support the idea of meritocracy. You are responsible for your play on the pitch, and if you make mistakes, you stand to be taken out of the line of fire. And someone else who wasn't at his best maybe 3-4 weeks ago deserves the opportunity to prove his worth again. Having said that, Tomori had a brutal game. I don't really think that he has come back into the side and decorated himself with any sort of medals or anything like that. I thought he was very sloppy in possession. Chelsea weren't really punished royally, with the exception of maybe Josh King's goal, which I do put down to, Tomori's positioning and bad decision making. Aside from that, there's opportunities where, he's given the ball away, and Bournemouth, with their press, are right back into, the 18 and, creating great goal scoring opportunities from there. It's an ongoing problem. I really do believe that regardless of how you shuffle the decks, Chelsea's center back pairings is just not good enough if we want to ascend to that next level in this competition. And while we're on the topic of defense, I thought Christensen was very poor for the first goal. He's just not physical enough. He's not reading the flight of the ball well enough to really, get the march on the guy that he's marking. It was a bad matchup anyways, but at the same time, you want your center backs to be commanding in the air and somebody that can just really marshal the back line and whatnot and tell people where we need to be, especially in that libero role, and he wasn't that yesterday. I thought that the goal, he's just late to get there and just not physical enough. It's been the hallmark of his football. He's great in possession, very composed and whatnot, but when it comes to the physical battles, he's just not able to cope. We saw it against United when he came back on and Martial gets the march on him and he heads it back post. We've seen it again and again. We saw it against Everton, against Bournemouth again, and he's just not strong enough in the air and physical enough to deal with the rigors of the Premier League. And for that reason, I still think that Chelsea need to address the center back position. And speaking of the goaltending and meritocracy, what exactly is the fascination with Caballero? I mean, he hasn't really asserted himself as somebody that we can say we can rely on in these big matches. And we got maybe 10 games left from now to the end of the season that are going to be 10 bellers. We have to have the goaltending. A 38-year-old backup, a career backup, is not what instills me with confidence in my back line. Even in my mentality as a supporter, I do not want to see Caballero back there. I'm sorry. It's just not good enough. And while I would agree that Kepa hasn't really done that much to separate himself from a 38-year-old Caballero, I'm sorry, we need to play him. He's our $71 million man. We've invested much more in him than we have Caballero, and we have to give him the opportunity to, regain his form, regain his confidence. Even if we've made the determination that he's not the keeper that's going to be taking us forward, we have to at least give him the opportunity to, leave without doubt that he's the right guy, because there's just too much invested to have him sit on the bench and see the same sorts of goals go in that we're seeing with Caballero right now. Now on to this 5-2-2 or 3-4-3, however you want to call it, this shape that Chelsea seemed to be running with the last little while. First and foremost, it is definitely not the best shape for a guy like Reece James, who I think is a fullback, a guy that benefits from having somebody to dovetail off of, whether it be Willian or, Callum Hudson-Odoi. He's better when he has a partner on the flank, more so than when he's isolated out there on his own. I will say this though, on the other side of the pitch where we have Marcos Alonso, he is without doubt a wingback, a guy that is the prototype when you think of what you want from your wingback. A guy that gets into the box, he's very good at getting forward. He's maybe not the best defensively, but because we have that extra center back, it compensates for his deficiencies on the flank. But the other areas on the pitch right now are just suffering in this shape right now. We can't play with them holding two. We cannot play with Kovacic and Jorginho. They just get overrun. And Jorginho, as is not a defensive midfielder. He's not a guy that's going to be breaking up plays. He's got 10 yellow cards this season. 10. And most of them are just counted like cynical fouls because he's just caught out of position all the time. He's the guy that is supposed to be setting the plate for us. He's the guy that's supposed to be dictating what we want to do on the pitch. We've seen time and time again when we have movement off the ball where he can pick the pass, he can find somebody over the top. His game, to me, is very limited. He's a specialist. He is a regista, whatever you want to call it. His role is specialized in this club. He's not a guy that can do it all, like, say, a Kovacic, who may not be world-class in any one thing, but he's a Swiss Army knife who can do a lot of different things and fit into a lot of different shapes. That's the difference that we're seeing right now. Jorginho's being asked to play in a role that is, number one, uncomfortable for him, and on top of that, he's playing a lot of football in this very uncomfortable role with no stamina to back him up. And say what you want about Maurizio Sarri, what he has done for this club is give us the ability to play out from the back and also to break the press. And the principles of that particular philosophy have been eliminated when we go to the 3-4-3, mainly because it takes the safety valves and the escape routes out of the equation. When you're playing a 3-4-3, Jorginho gets on the ball, he can either look to Kovacic or to Conte, or one of the fullbacks in the wide areas for passing options, or even go back to the defenders. Whereas right now we're struggling with finding the same angles to make those passing options, and there's no actual escape route right now. So what you're seeing is happening is we get the ball and then we pass it right back to one of our center backs, and they aren't very composed on the ball, they aren't very confident within themselves, so they're rushing decisions and making either wayward passes or just, hoofing it out of bounds for whatever reason. And these are the types of things that I think are the limitations when we're being pressed in that 3-4-3 versus when we're in a 4-3-3 and we already have these rehearsed ideas of how to break a press. But I do think I'm going to wrap it up there. Chelsea unfortunate not to get all 3 points, or fortunate to get a point, however you want to look at it, against Bournemouth. 2-2, Marcos Alonso, man of the match once again. What a performance from him. But we just got to keep kicking on. For whatever reason, we got to find some health, number one, obviously. That's the biggest thing. We need to get healthy. We need to start getting some guys back into the squad. I just heard the other day that, Ruben Loftus-Cheek took another injury, and it's another setback. And that's so disheartening, so disappointing. Not exactly unexpected, though. When you come back from a serious injury from that and you do so much training, it's very difficult to, avoid another injury. And we saw that with Callum Hudson-Odoi as well. So, we just got to take our time and really bring these guys back and fit. Tammy Abraham, I heard, has just been shipped to Barcelona because there's something wrong with his ankle now. And it's just it's an onslaught of bad juju at the club right now. And it's just really wreaked its havoc in the infirmary. But again, we move on. We got Liverpool. Can you believe it? We got Liverpool in the FA Cup this midweek. I think it's Tuesday. And, they finally, is the collapse actually happening right now? Are we seeing is the commencement taking place right now where Liverpool just collapsed and, win nothing again, Let's hope that that's what's happening, but we got them in the FA Cup and who knows what's going to happen. I'm not really too focused on it this year, unfortunately, because those last 10 games are vital to Chelsea going forward. Definitely need to be finishing in the top 4 if we have any aspirations to kick on next year and really make some inroads into the title. So I'm less concerned about the FA Cup due to the fact that we have so many injuries. I'm more concerned about what we do in the league and how we move forward. And the next game is Everton in the league, and we saw what they did to United. Should have got all 3 points. What the hell is going on with VAR again? So many so many decisions going in favor of Man United. Too big to fail, I would think. That's what the feeling is I'm getting, that we can't have them not in the top 4, top 5 because, you know, they're too big to fail as often as they have, and, you know, FA just seems to be taking, you know, special care of them the last little while in particular. But again, we move on, you know, we have to find a way to kick on and be the squad that we want to be. We have to find our form. We have to find a cohesive shape that, you know, is good defensively as well as good offensively. And we just haven't found that balance. But, you know, tomorrow's a new day. Frank is learning, and he is without doubt a legend within this club and deserves the backing of all the supporters because of what he's done for us. But you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high and up the Chelsea. Peace.